University of Gadri, Sudan. He will be joining us online. A round of applause for him. Also, we would like to welcome Dr. Bizalin Ayel from Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia. He will also be joining us online. Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Claire Kuyendo from University of Ghana. You're welcome. She's joining us also from online. Thank you very much, Ms. Claire. Miss Victoria Biamba, she's one of us. She's the representative in Sophie. You're welcome, Victoria. Miss Rose Kubusnie, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, United Kingdom. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. We also welcome Soren Burr, Circular Media, Austria. Thank you very much. And not the least, I'll welcome my coach, my Oga, Dr. Alawale Olaide. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Let's see.
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
So we have
Hello. Hello.
We need to declare the next, we have to speak last. We have Professor Grace online to give us a good message from the district university. So, Grace, look, can we have a good message now?
Hello? Can someone hear me?
Yes, Prof, I can hear you. This is Grace Oluko, please.
Oh, this is Ambassador Nofoko. I can't hear anything. I heard you, but I can't hear from Dr. Laide.
Me too. I can't hear from the people who are live, who are face to face. It's so unclear to hear anything.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We are very.
Is this Eniola?
No, it's
Hello?
not but we are part of the country.
Okay. So can I go ahead? Hello?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead. They can hear you live from the conference.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful day. Your Excellency,
And
the
go ahead,
executive.
sir.
Thank you. Like I said, it's a beautiful day today. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of your state, whom I'm sure is watching us from Agodi now, Sir Engineer Oluseyi Makinde, members of Image Board, our partners, ASEPIN, and all our other partners from overseas, and those within the shores of Nigeria, all participants virtually and physically present at our 2021 conference taking place at the University of Ibadan International Conference Center. You are welcome. I've seen friends from Ghana, from Morocco, from Finland, from the UK, Austria, Mozambique, and many more. You're all welcome to Nigeria. The conference for 2020 had to be canceled due to COVID-19 pandemic, which was most serious then. Thank God we're here today. I want to especially recognize Professor Hussein of University of Gadaref, Sudan, Professor Ayal of University of Addis Ababa, Dr. Adolphe from Côte d'Ivoire, Dr. Nguezet from Congo, and all other members of the organizing committee. I extend a special welcome to Professor Pauline Dutz from Old University in the UK, and to Dr. Greenwell Machaya, who has just joined us from the Institute of Water Management, Pretoria, South Africa. Thanks for accepting our invitation to participate. I recognize Professor Grace Olukoy of Leeds University here in Ibadan. I also recognize Dr. Daniel Mann of Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, our partners from UK and Abuja. I welcome Ms. Claire Koyendo of University of Ghana, Legon, Etise. Same goes to Ms. Kobusin of Ellen MacArthur Foundation in the UK. I wish to therefore thank all our presenters at this annual 2021 conference and urge them to all let's move ahead in partnership. I thank you. As you are aware, Interconnections for Making Africa Great, Empowered, and Sustainable, Images, is an academic non-profit organization focused especially on sustainable development in Africa. We are working to sustain development on the continent through our various conferences, roundtables, lectures, research modes, and partnerships. Our vision is to provide policymakers, civil societies, agencies of development, and researchers sets of innovative approaches and tested good practices for achieving sustainability. This will be the focus of our conference for these 2 days. While I hand over to our esteemed president, Dr. Wale Olaide, popularly called Coach at the University of Ibadan, I want to thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
That might be the wise at first. Really, obviously, it's a supporter of this event. The second the Circularity conference of our friends of Assessment in Images. But as you all know, we have been here for quite a while. So if you allow me to extend my little messages a little bit to why we are still here. Since 1976, FDS has been implemented in Nigeria. And from the beginning, we were promoting democracy and social justice. This is our core message as FDS. We do it in Nigeria, we do it in more than 100 countries across the globe and 20 alone in sub-Saharan. So, as you all know, these days, which are not only characterized by this global pandemic, but also, and even more so, environmental degradation and reproduction all over the globe. And for us, all these environmental questions are to be called social questions, questions of justice, questions of distribution and redistribution of resources. Resources. The climate change, which is already happening in Nigeria and other countries, leading to a lot of security issues, leading to a lot of social issues, leading to struggles, be it about farmland, grazing land, and other things which are dominating the use of nature. But even more than that, will dominate our future in a way partly to mention about a few decades ago. So for us, we really welcome this opportunity to be here with you, physically and digitally, to discuss with you ways forward on how to create a better and more sustainable, indeed a circular economy for this country, Nigeria, but also for Africa as a whole. This is the topic of those generations. And it is obviously our pleasure as FDS to once again support this conference, also to contribute to this conference, most specifically tomorrow to our roundtable panel on gas flaring and its contradictory nature to any attempt of sustainable economy in Nigeria. My colleague to the host that panel. And so obviously we are also grateful for the opportunity to get closer our partners of the Coalition of Social Ecological Transformation. We invited them to the platform. We always enjoy joining for that. And that being said, I think I would kind of join here. I think we're already running a little bit late, and I assume that more people will also be taking the message sending up this conference. Once again, thank you for your invitation. I wish you very active deliberations, patience when it comes to all these technical difficulties. You know, we have to bear the fantasy around for 1 year. We all got used to the practicalities of Zoom. So thank you once again for being here, and I wish you a very pleasant.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Knapp, for a wonderful show of wonderful the office and you coming at very. Let me say that this is the first man is coming in Ibadan. I think it is first street outside Abuja. Okay, no, not the first street outside Abuja, but the first time in Ibadan. So we are happy to have this from originally from Ghana, I guess, of the electric to have. We have Professor Grace Oluko online. Professor Grace Oluko, you are welcome to be your welcome and witness.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so delighted to be part of this year's Circularity conference, which we are hosting in Ibadan for the next 2 days. I'm standing on the existing protocol. And as I welcome all the participants to this meeting, our focus is how we build green economy and sustainable development in Africa in particular. So the essence of today's gathering and that of tomorrow is actually to awakening ourselves to some of the things we have known before, remembering ourselves of the importance of sustainable development and what are we going to gain when we follow that path. Also from this conference, we'll be coming out with policy guidelines that can help policymakers, and thereby we are building synergy between the policymakers, the academia, the civil society, and even the popular sector, the communities that at the end of the day we are working for. Also, the essence of such a meeting as this is that it helps the visioneer of images and all the partners to know whether what this organization, this NGO is doing is having impact in the society at the end of the day. So when we pursue green economy and sustainable development, what are we to gain? Of course, there will be reduction of waste from all our production, because circular economy is actually targeting that. For us to reduce waste to the BRF minimum and make sure that we take advantage of everything we can get from any product. It's also a clearance call to build on a safety society and improved our health. And when we do that, we are sure that the beauty, that is the aesthetics of our spaces, will be in place. So on this note, I want to welcome all the participants as I celebrate the visioneer and the local organizing committee. And I wish us a beautiful deliberation, that at the end of the day, such outputs from this conference will be useful for policy making. Will also be useful for us in academia, so that we can see how we will rework our curriculums in some programs, so that we're able to adapt it to what is happening now. And thereby, we are building a global system that is resilient and that is sustainable. So I want to thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting and to have my own input, especially on this opening ceremony. So to Dr. Wale Olaide and all your team, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. I wish all the participants a beautiful experience in this conference. And for those that have traveled, I wish you journey mercies whenever you will be returning back to your base. However, in the city of Ibadan, there are so many scenic spaces you can visit while observing the pandemic COVID-19 protocol. And visiting such places, we also add to the value of your visitation to the most populous Black country in the continent. So you are welcome. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Wale Olaide.
Thank you for the work and motivating good message that you don't deliver on behalf of this city university, Ibadan, Nigeria. Most of our partners, not just in Nigeria, but outside Nigeria and even outside the continent. So we have with us, all right, Ms. Rose Okusin from Ellen Macaro Foundation. Rose, you some of the white card stay electorals. And especially is originally from Kenya, so I can say Asante. Rose, please.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. My name is Rose. As they have introduced me, I work with the learning team at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And I send you greetings from the foundation. And the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, just a brief, is that we are located in the United Kingdom, and we work to develop and promote the idea of circular economy. And that is why it's very exciting to be here. We also work to inspire businesses and academia and policymakers and institutions to implement system thinking and accelerate the transition to a circular economy, where business models, products, and materials are designed to shift a system where we design out waste, generate natural systems, and keep products and materials in use. So, and the foundation has been working mainly in Europe, in Asia, in South America, and now we've come. I'm working on one project that I'm working with the African Leadership University, which is located in Mauritius, and they also have a Rwanda campus, and it's on circular economy and higher education. And I'm just going to say a few things about the project where I think our people in the audience would be willing or interested to get involved. And one of the things include formal learning and formal learning. We have online circular economy shores. We have online learning programs. Also, we're going to be implementing learning courses coming in October, November this year, and we'll be sharing the information where we'll be having courses for young professionals, young entrepreneurs, and students. And also, we have also teen webinars for the younger generation to inspire them to undertake circular economy businesses. Within the program, the project, we're also working with curriculum developers to introduce and incorporate circular economy in that talks to African challenges, that talks to implement, to answer African questions in the African context for Africans. So they see as African cities, African countries, we have an opportunity. I'm saying we have because I'm from Uganda, so and I'm very attached to my country and my continent so much. So we have an opportunity to undo the things that we didn't that came with colonial powers and all others. So I think we have an opportunity to lead circular economy. We have an opportunity to lead sustainable food systems, packaging, and fashion. And we have an opportunity to grow innovations because our continent is growing at, the innovations at our continent is growing at a very high level. So I'll be sharing information with the organizer. We have I think some of you already know there's an upcoming event with Rise Africa, and we'll be discussing the role of higher education in the transition to a circular economy. I'm going to drop the registration link for the online audience in the chat box. So I wish you a great deliberation, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much. Back to you, Dr. Wale.
going to give and so I'll be welcoming everyone from Austria to just say good things about organization and express good will. Sorry,
hello, good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be with you and thank you for the invitation, Dr. Alaide. I'm joining you from Vienna in Austria, and we're very pleased to be involved in this conference. We are science communicators, and we will hold a short YouTube live streaming this afternoon on how to communicate circularity in Africa and how to engage different stakeholders. I have just been told that I may open my video, which I'm starting to do. It doesn't show. So if the technical team could please enable me to show my face. I'm trying to turn on my video, but it's not working. I will be pleased to do so. Okay, I'm sorry this doesn't work. I would like to show you where I'm sitting. I believe this will be working this afternoon, and you will all see us with 4 fantastic panelists from Nigeria and Kenya talking about different kinds of communication and stakeholder engagement challenges around Africa. Thank you very much, and thank you for having us.
let's have a good message. Okay. To repeat to an extent. At this juncture, I would like to welcome Ms. Victoria Yama, the Secretary of the Supreme Africa Policy Group. She's joining us online from Abuja.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I stand on all existing protocol. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us from around the globe. As already mentioned, my name is Victoria Nyobam, and I'm the Secretary of African Circular Economy Research and Policy Network. I would like to also welcome all the participants who have come from far and near within Nigeria, and of course, those who are joining us online virtually, you're all welcome. Even though I'm part of the network, I would like to especially congratulate the board and the team of Images and ESAPIN for setting up an avenue like this, where scholars and professionals can rub minds on circularity, on the economy, and how green businesses can thrive within this context, more so with the residual impact of the pandemic, which has changed the system from is no more business as usual. I hope that the outcome of this conference will pave way for better opportunities for economies to be able to transition to a more circular economy by promoting sustainability in various sectors, of course, while trying to safeguard the environment. Not to take up much of our time, once again, thank you and welcome to the second CAC 2021. Have a wonderful and memorable experience. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Elaide.
And thank you very much, Victoria, for the expression of the food. Right now, we're taking most of the universities a little bit, about 10 minutes, I'm sure we'll catch up. We now go to the keynote stage, keynote address. The keynote speaker, the way very well.
Oh, did you say Greenwell? Hello?
Okay,
Hello?
is based Greenwell is based in South Africa. In South Africa, Victoria. It's been a friend for 4 years now. We met November 2016 about and since then we've been working together closely on agriculture. Next, when I had the opportunity, invited me to his country. His country is not South Africa, but his country is Malawi. So this year I thought of how do I think back student way, I was still studying the way. But when I don't start to read this here with us, so I'm sure it's right to get the confirm. It's also economics, pure economics, this is other things that the economists are tackling. Yeah, probably not going to the area of water management practices. I would that much I do. I like to work from very much. Look at his face. I don't think about his name. We say the theme for this conference is enabling green businesses and circular economy. So what I consider the same, and I don't find of my friend asked green, I just have to bring it on board. Green well is talking about green business. Happy business.
Okay. So although I couldn't hear everything, I'm presuming that it's my turn now. But you will have to excuse me because I will need to use PowerPoint. Is that okay? Okay. All right, so all protocol observed. And thanks very much, Professor Wali, for inviting me to this important meeting on circularity in Africa. I am going to just talk about a few things that I think are of importance, although I am not saying that they are the only important things, but you asked me to do something which I think it's a bit broader, and you wanted me to say something about the enablers and disablers of agriculture trade, as well as circularity in Africa. So I've kind of put up some slides and I'm going to go through them with you. And I'm also hoping to learn more from you here because I know that you are also practitioners in this area. This presentation is kind of developed by myself and my colleague, Josiane Nikema, who also works with the International Water Management Institute based in Ghana. and Colombo, and I'm based here in Pretoria. Right, the outline for the presentation is as follows. So I'll give some kind of a brief introduction of what you already know on trade and circularity, and I'll touch on the enablers as well as disablers of trade, agricultural trade, and go to circularity. And I'll provide just a few examples of what our institution is doing in advancement of the circularity arguments, like trying to build a circular economy. And then I'll come up with some suggestions for consideration for practitioners, including government, private sector, researchers, etc., in order to advance this. So as a matter of introduction, we need to know that for Africa to develop, obviously, trade is one of the key things that we have to consider, because as many of you know already, trade forms part of the income determination of an economy. So the income of an economy is a function of many things, including the differential between exports and imports, which means that if your imports are not doing well, if your exports are not doing well, you cannot do good in as far as incomes for a country are concerned. And the balance of payments problems that countries always complain about are a function of the differential between exports that a country has outside it, from it, and the imports. So if you export more consistently compared to your imports, you know that over time you are going to have a good trade balance, a positive trade balance. And the positive trade balance is good for your balance of payment account. The balance of payment account is a critical component of any macroeconomic environment. If your balance of payments are negative, meaning that you are importing more, you're consuming more than you produce or than you export, you are going to have a situation where you breed a lot of inflation, high interest rates, and generally that is going to create an unstable macroeconomic environment, which repels private investors, foreign investors, plus also it just brings a lot of uncertainty even for domestic investors. Now, since agriculture accounts for a great share or a significant share of African economies, GDPs, then agricultural trade is key for economic development. I'm not saying agricultural trade is the only one. We know many countries also have a bigger share of trade as accounted by raw materials, including oil, diamonds, etc. But that is not to say agriculture is not important. It's also important. It accounts for a huge share. Moreover, a lot of Africans still reside in areas where agriculture is the biggest the most important source of income for them, even if that country has diamonds and has minerals as South Africa, etc. But while agriculture trade is improving slowly, it also seems to be meeting a lot of setbacks. And in fact, relative to other economies, other groupings of countries, Africa is not doing that much fine. And the current levels of agriculture trade, they trail those of other country groupings, including Asia, Latin America, etc., as we're going to see here. So this figure, for example, is presenting information about the share in total world agricultural exports and by region. So if you just look at, for example, these lines are talking about the evolution of the share, how much of agricultural trade that takes place in the world can be attributed to Africa or to Latin American countries or to Asia and the Pacific countries. What we see here is that for Asia and Pacific, you can see the share is the highest, but it is also growing over time, hovering towards the 20% mark. But if you look at the Latin American countries, it's also a strong second. But when you come to the blue line, which represents Africa's share of agricultural exports, you see that it is at the bottom. It's almost under 5% of, it just accounts for under 5% as a share in world agricultural exports. Obviously, it means we are lagging in terms of agricultural trade. And agriculture is a mainstay of most countries. So by implication, we can't expect that we will do good or better than these countries when you come to other indicators of economic development. So indeed, if we now go to this figure, it is showing us the share in world agricultural GDP per region. So if you computed the total world agricultural GDP, what is the share of Africa in that? You find that the share of Africa is just revolving around under 10%. And Africa is a gigantic continent with 55 countries, okay? But it's accounting for just under 10%. And yet, Latin American countries are closer to us, and Asia Pacific countries are tremendously above 50%. So we are trading in that area. So we are on the lowest. And by implication also, you will find that the share in world's GDP is also kind of trading. We are trading other countries. For example, in terms of the share of world GDP, Africa is the one there which is under 3%. Okay, it is just under 3% as compared to Latin American countries, which are above or close to 10%, and the Asia and Pacific are going over closer to 35%. Of course, the other percentages above there obviously are accounted for by European countries or the Western countries, the United States and Europe, right? So we're not even trying to compare ourselves with them because they are so far ahead. And that's obviously shameful, but it's also to do with what we are not doing better in terms of other areas, and agriculture, trade, as well as circularity are some of those areas. In terms of the circular economy, we say trade is obviously important, as I've alluded to, but at the same time, trade alone is not sufficient because you have to trade something. If you are trading in agricultural commodities, you need to make sure that you can trade sustainably. Trading sustainably means you have to produce sustainably. If you can't maintain production levels because your inputs are gone or because you exported raw materials, you are unable to recycle them, then that breaks the value chains, then you lose market share internationally. So building a circular economy in that respect then is very important. And it's also becoming even more important because over time, as population in Africa is booming, resources are becoming even more scarce than before, and they're becoming a limiting factor on many things, including whether we can supply something or not. Circularity, therefore, would deliver benefits such as reducing pressure on the environment, ensuring security of the supply of inputs. They can increase competitiveness of value chains, stimulate innovation, they can boost economic growth. So moving towards a more circular economy can advantage agricultural trade, can make it more sustainable, and can help it contribute even more to general economic development and the improvement of livelihoods. By definition, I think most of you know this, but just for ease of reference, I took this from the European Union Parliament literature. So here, circular economy is one that minimizes wastage. Okay, so it is one whereby the production as well as the consumption of food involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. In this way, the life of a product is extended, and that is important. You can imagine in Africa where we think that inputs are scarce, if you use an input to produce maize, and then you just eat that maize once and it's gone, or cassava or yam, it's gone, it's a loss. But if you can find a way of reusing whatever the waste you had from consumption and you find a way of using it for another, then at least you are extending the efficiency or utilization of that. That's better for a growing economy like ours. So circularity is also related to a number of sustainable development goals, as you know. So it is, for example, related to sustainable development goal number 2.4, number 5, on policies promoting gender equality. On 2, it's the sustainable food production systems. 6.3, it's on improved water quality from reduced pollution and safe wastewater reuse. It's also related to integrated water resource management, to capacity building support for water and sanitation related programs, as well as to sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources, waste prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. So, in other words, when we embark on a mission to advance circularity and the circular economy, we are also advancing the achievement of many of these sustainable development goals, which is, obviously a good thing. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff that I've written there. However, both increasing agricultural trade and moving towards a circular economy present both opportunities and challenges. The opportunities and the good things are that if we are able to do that, if we increase trade, we are going to advantage our economies and make it easier for our countries to achieve better livelihoods for many. If we advance circular economies, we are going to have raw materials being used for an extended period of time. And that is better for sustainability because we are running short of resources. Okay, but doing so also presents some challenges. Many of those challenges are related to policy, are related to financial means, are technological in nature, are institutional in nature, but some of them are also knowledge related. Okay, if we come, for example, to the enablers and disablers of agriculture, agricultural trade, you'll find that if you look at literature, regional integration, for example, facilitates the exchange of know-how and trade. I think this is common knowledge. The reason why European Union is kind of there trying to stick together is because integration is really very important. If you don't speak as a unit, you are not going to really have an impact in terms of trade for your commodities, as well as many other things. So the efforts in Africa towards integration, I think, are commendable in that case. Over time, we will start reaping the benefits of regional as well as continental integration. And also some studies have shown that incomes of countries, of course, the income of an economy, of people in a country, are both enablers as well as disablers of agricultural trade. So in the sense that the more money you have, the more likely you are going to have bigger effective demand for commodities. And then other countries can look at you as a destination for their markets. If you're all poor countries, you can produce a lot of stuff and you can be sure that it's going to rot. But also, on the supply side, the more money you have as an economy, the more you're likely going to apportion part of that money to research and development, to irrigation, and to other factors of production, leading to more agricultural trade over time as you produce a surplus. And graph models have also confirmed the same. Population is good. So if you see that the populations are growing, it's a good thing, especially if the people are empowered. But if the people are poor, then population is going to just lead to you becoming an importer. You advance trade of others, but you kind of have balance of payment problems because your import bill is going to become larger. Distance between countries, which is talking about physical infrastructure to facilitate trade transaction, is a disabler of a trade. It negates trade. So doing something in that area is important. To reduce distance, you don't have to bring countries together. You just have to build good infrastructure in terms of roads, ships, railway lines, etc. As well, and the macroeconomic environment is important so that overvalued exchange rates are always not very good in terms of facilitating trade, because if you overvalue your exchange rate, you want it to be equivalent to a pound 1-to-1, and but when it's the market rules are not such that you have to have such kind of a ratio, you are only going to make your commodities not competitive on the international markets. So macroeconomic stabilization or macroeconomic environment is important also for trade. And access to secure rights to land are important, as well as having technology in terms of irrigation, etc. Because if your land is smaller, think about Israel, for example, very small country, but they're able to produce a lot of stuff and they sell elsewhere. It's because of irrigation technology. And the irrigation also allows you to use the same land for longer. In fact, irrigation is analogous to, I mean, it's consonant with recycling on the circularity argument, because then you can use land for many times in a year. Okay, and the other enablers include sanitary and phytosanitary rules. Contradictory disablers include also contradictory trade and other policies, poor regional physical infrastructure, complex border procedures, poor market information systems, tariff and non-tariff barriers, some of which I've already mentioned here. So these are, I mean, the literature on this is a lot, and I didn't want to talk about the specifics of that, but in summary, these are some of the factors that you need to consider when it comes to trade if you want to improve it. What can enable circularity? So you find that knowledge is important. So evidence on how circularity is advantageous can be useful, especially when you're trying to motivate stakeholders to uptake the technologies of circularity. And decision support tools also are important, because these are new arguments. It is important to have decision support in order to encourage them. So where decision support modalities are well elaborated, it's a good thing. And where programs are in place, it's important to strengthen their implementation so that we can already see how important they are. Okay, let me rush. I know that I'm running out of time. And then policies are also very key in terms of enabling this. So here I just gave an example of how much wastage comes from bottles, plastic bottles, etc. in a say, for example, in a day or in a year. So what can you do about this wastage? You can either ban them, or you can reduce the number of bottles through policy, or you can recycle them, or you can treat them. All these are very important in terms of in terms of achieving recycling. I can see that the manager is writing me something, so let me just see, just in case. Okay, all right, okay. I see what is, okay, all right. So yeah, now when it comes to then that, what you need to do then is to devise strategies, whether through policy, to make sure that you can restrict the production of those, or you can reduce their production, or you can make sure that you can recycle them through policy or directives, or you can develop financially financially viable initiatives whereby stakeholders can start engaging in those ones, or you can develop treatment options. So we need to be exploring more options on that. And within the International Water Management Institute, we have some programs where we are cooperating with the United Nations, as well as some universities in trying to just action this. Another example is building capacity of public and private sectors to uptake the resource recovery and reuse related business models. For example, in Ghana, there is a program there that International Water Management has been carrying out with partners there, and it involves enhancing capacity of municipalities in sanitation business, assessing the potential of selected business models, including detailed financial and institutional analysis. So we come in from the science perspective, as well as from the business model perspective, as well as providing the technological know-how in terms of how those are done. We have a team of researchers spread in Ghana, as well as in Colombo and Pretoria, and organizing investment matchmaking events to catalyze business development. Because one challenge that you see that you'll be facing, or stakeholders are going to be facing when it comes to adopting circularity projects, is that you need to have some finances. Somebody has to buy into the idea. It has to be financially viable. And even private partnership agreements, public-private partnerships are also important to advance. And I think taking a deliberate effort to encourage them, it's a good thing. The last one is what we also are doing we've been doing for solid waste and fecal sludge management. So this is where we conduct feasibility studies on safe technologies for treatment and reuse, because I think one of the worries that comes with the recycling of, say, for example, waste is that if you recycle it, is it going to be safe? So if you conduct feasibility studies on terms of safety, that's a good thing. And then you do market study. We do market studies on demand for waste-based dry fuel or fertilizers, feasibility studies on business models, provide technical backstopping on the setup of fecal sludge treatment and composting plants. So, and then development of regulation and policies in conjunction, in liaison with the countries. And then engaging in capacity development for various user groups and formation of reuse guidelines. All those are, we also engage in those with the Ghana office. And I think they're important in far as advancing these circularity arguments are concerned. In terms of the coverage of some of the initiatives that IM is engaged with, you can see that they're spread. So in Uganda, there are some initiatives in Kenya, in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, India, Ghana, and Peru, and the different colleagues working on different parts of these circularity initiatives. Suggestion to policymakers. As far as trade is concerned, I think it's important to develop and enforce programs of sanitary and phytosanitary rules to make sure that no one just rejects our commodities based on those rules. Because many times, even in Southern Africa region, for example, if someone wants to come with products in South Africa, they are going to be punished with those rules if they don't follow them. And not to talk about the European Union market in the United States. So it's better to just play the game, improve those ones. It's also important to harmonize trade and other related policies so that they are not contradictory. You can't have a policy that says we are export oriented as a country and another that says we can institute a ban on the sale of commodities anytime at the expense of the producers. Those are contradictory. And we need also to improve infrastructure, the railways, one-stop borders, etc. I think these are also obvious from the biennial review reports that we have been conducting under the research program and under the biennial review program with the African Union. We need to simplify border procedures, and we have to improve market information systems so that people are aware of what is happening on the markets. They can buy and trade whenever it's needed. We also have to eliminate any remaining tariff barriers, and we need to be able to add value to agricultural exports. One of the graphs there that I shared, but maybe not that one, another one that I didn't share, you will find that you can export a lot of things outside. So in terms of the quantity of things you're selling, it's a lot. But in terms of the value, it's not much. You know why? It's because you're selling raw commodities. So the way forward, in order to advance agriculture, is that we have to utilize structured markets where we have forward contracts sealed in order to make sure that we don't lose out when some things happen. But we also need to be selling products from the agriculture sector rather than raw materials. Because you sell to China raw maize. China produces them, processes them, and sells you biscuits. European markets do the same. The Americans do the same. It's not necessarily good. We need to be able also to sell finished products ourselves. They have a longer shelf life. They fetch more markets. Their terms of trade are much better. We also need to desist from disruptive trade bans as they are wasteful and they hurt producers. And we need to increase spending on skills development in the area of agribusiness, as well as other areas of processing within the agriculture sector. And finally, this is my final slide. On the, in respect of circularity, I think it is important to cherish knowledge in the area. We need to be generating knowledge. So as universities, like where Professor Olawale is, you need to engage to participate, obviously, even much more than you're already doing. And the development partners and governments need to be supportive of this. Let's generate research on what works and what does not work in terms of technology as well as business models for making this sustainable, okay? And for making them also safe. But As governments, let's develop regulation and policies in liaison with stakeholders on how best to do these things. Let's strengthen institutions and governance mechanisms for this to make sure that when we pursue the circularity arguments, we are also not harming other people. We're not harming trade and the people who are going to consume products from those systems. And for funding agencies, again, it's better to avail as well as facilitate the availability of funding for implementation of those initiatives. We need to upskill stakeholders and entrepreneurs to take advantage of those. And we have to have public awareness about the safety of these products. The fact that you have used fertilizer from a sewage, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to produce something that is going to be harmful to somebody's health. I think with that, I should say thank you very much for allowing me to give you this presentation. And also thanks very much for holding this important workshop. And I'm wishing you all the best as we continue with deliberations in this. For any further information, you can utilize some of these links. I'm going to make this presentation available to Professor Olawale, and you can always feel free to peruse through some of these links. Thank you. Over to you, the moderator.
Thank you. South Africa, we're very grateful for the keynote address. On this note, we would also like to say that the presentation will be on images on his website. So as many of us that are interested, you can always check on the website. Thank you. Please, are there any questions from the audience here or online? I'd like to take one or two questions before we move on. Is there anyone here who has a question? Or are there questions online that we want to ask the keynote speaker?
Hello, can you hear me? This is Pauline in Hull. Could I possibly ask a question, please?
Please hold on online. Dr. Matthew, you have a question here.
Just on a general note, the context is slightly. My name is Reverend Father Edward Gobi, MSD. I'm a moral theologian, social ethicist, and ecological scientist. My interest is in the involvement of government and policymakers in this. The context in South Africa is slightly different from the one here in Nigeria. In South Africa, you have managed to get yourselves in order somewhat in terms of looking for the best way forward for your economy. In Nigeria, we seem to still be repressive, and retrogression, of course, would not be the best friend of economic development, not to talk of human development as a whole. So I want to know what it is that you did to get government buy-in, policymakers buy-in. And here our experience is that they are more interested in getting, consuming, and wasting or trash. So how did you get that conversion from that class of your society? Just a simple question.
Hello? Oh, Was it a call for my response?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So I think the first thing I need to say is that I had the impression from the gentleman who just spoke that maybe I'm not from South Africa. I'm just based in South Africa because I work with an international institution of which South Africa is one of the hosts. Otherwise, I'm from Malawi. But in terms of the lessons that we have, or at least the institute here, has in terms of what are the success factors for some of these initiatives. I would have to say, first, it's not always very easy, obviously, to come in with new ways of thinking, but what makes it sometimes relatively easier is to make sure that at the design stage of what you want to do, you need to involve the stakeholders, of which government is critical. So not just the government, because if you just use the government, it's easy for the government to forget that, and then they will not be accountable in most countries. So you also have to build a coalition of stakeholders, including civil society, which is going to play a role of reminding the government in case they renege on their promises or on what you want to do. But you also want to try and build a good case at the onset in terms of why this is important. And doing that, it's important to utilize research, as I said. So in a nutshell, I'd say that it's not always very easy, but when you are more prepared before you introduce the ideas to the stakeholders, you have a better chance of winning. And another thing you need to consider, another factor, is to make sure you are playing together with them at every stage. So whether it's a design, you come up with a concept, you let them be part of it, let them modify it as much as possible and have a debate. And when it comes to trying to roll it out, let you do it together, because in any case, they know better than you. The only thing is that you're providing a framework for trying to implement the things that you believe from a scientific perspective are going to be useful. So I'm pretty sure that even in Nigeria, I know Nigeria is very big, and obviously complex. It has its own uniqueness, but it's also in that large size and uniqueness that you can exploit it to your advantage and you make sure that you can entrench these things and move together with the politicians. So involve the politicians, involve the local municipalities as well as the local leaders, involve a diversity of stakeholders when you bring the technology. Otherwise, a diffusion of technology is always challenged by the things that you rightly said, but prior planning would make it more likely that you can win. Thank you. Over to you, moderator.
Professor Colin Duet. Please, ma, you can go on with your question.
Thank you very much.
Professor Colin.
Hello. I think now I'm unmuted. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and indeed for the conference, which got off to a great start. I have a question. So listening to the challenges that were referred to there in terms of the circular economy in the African context, some of the issues to do with trade and infrastructure, it seems from the outside that they would benefit from Pan-African cooperation. Do you think there is spirit amongst the various countries to undertake this sort of level discussion relating to the circular economy? And maybe just say one lesson from the European Union would be that there is spirit for that cooperation, but still, of course, a level of competition when it comes to the details. Thank you.
Well, that's very interesting to hear and to know also. especially on the part of competition. So the competition is in form of, so the competition is in form of which technology you have to deploy and etc. Right? Yeah.
When it comes to the details of the policies, each country will be arguing for the sort of approach that works best for them, and then each company within each country will be, trying to make things work the best for them.
Yeah. Okay, that's very good information to know, because I think it's a factor of success for the continent. I think those are pieces of information that Professor Wale, you need to be aware of those as you advance your science and to see how best can we roll out some of these technologies beyond borders.
Okay, is there any other question on the floor? Okay, thank you very much. So on this note, we will round up this session and we'll move on to health break and group photographs.
Okay, so thank you very much. Let's do the rest for the wonderful this morning. Maybe you didn't observe something, but I did observe it. We saw Professor Greenwell, the first speaker that was listening to, and the other woman that asked him question is the second speaker for tomorrow. So you are speaker already talking to each other. I mean, that's regularity. I mean, there's no separate to do with posting the group. So there's nothing that is coming outside the sidewalk as well. We are posting the group. The keynote speaker for tomorrow is already in today's meeting. She's already taking the information from the presentation of the first keynote speaker, and that's how we get connected. It's a network. Circularity is about networking. It's about making sure that there's nothing that is left undone. So with this information, I'd like to welcome off to the head break. We have been sitting for 2 hours, so it's healthy for us to stretch and take some refreshments and come back after that. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. See you in half an hour.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you. This is Circularity Africa 2021. We're moving on to the next session now. We still have some goodwill messages. I will be calling on Ms. Claire Kuyen from the University of Ghana. Thank you. On to you, Claire.
Hello. Hello. Are you hearing me? Hello. Hello. Okay. The chairperson, our special guest of honor, distinguished professors and doctors from academia, guests invited, alumni members, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from where you are joining us from. I am delighted to join my predecessors to welcome you once again to this august occasion, which is the second Circularity Africa Conference. I am the leader for the Alumni Association of the Africa Graduate Mentorship and Coaching Program, in short, AGMCP. In brief, AGMCP is a mentor-mentee network supported by the Interconnections for Making Africa Great, Empowered and Sustainable, or Images Initiative. This is aimed at mentoring and coaching graduate level students, both masters and PhD, in Africa in the areas of research and professional development. So on behalf of the association, we are very grateful to Images Initiative and Africa's Circular Economy Research and Policy Network for organizing this important and engaging program. There is no doubt that the participation of all of us in this conference will empower us with the knowledge that will transform Africa as a continent in the areas of circular economy and circular business by providing solutions to support sustainable growth. Once again, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. I wish you a most fruitful day with interesting and stimulating discussions and an exchange of knowledge so that we can together envisage the future of an innovative Africa. Thank you very much once again. So back to you, the coordinator.
Thank you very much, Claire. We now move on to special recognition by the International School, University of Ibadan. Happy viewing.
For the last year, I have been growing and foraging 100% of my food. No grocery stores, no restaurants, not even a drink at a bar. Nature has been my garden, my pantry, and my pharmacy. I'm here in Orlando, Florida, and this abundant garden that I'm standing in right now, this was just a lawn like that when I started. I don't own any land, so to grow my food, I met people in my neighborhood and I turned their front yards into gardens and shared the bounty of food with them. And while I was here, I built a 100 square foot tiny house along with my friends to serve as my simple homestead and my base. In my gardens, I grew over 100 different foods, dozens of different greens packed with nutrients, sweet potatoes, yam, and yucca for my caloric needs, delicious fruits like papayas and bananas, pumpkins, carrots, beans, and beets, so many vegetables, and herbs and peppers to flavor all of my meals. And I also raised bees so that I could have my own candy shop right in my yard. In addition to the huge bounty from my garden, I foraged over 200 different species from nature. I harvested my salt from the ocean simply by collecting it and boiling it down. I got my caffeine from the native Yaupon holly tree. Not only was I my own grocery store, I was also my own pharmacist. I grew fresh turmeric and ginger right in my gardens. I harvested wild elderberries to make elderberry syrup to prevent cold and flu. I harvested reishi mushrooms and different medicinal teas, and also grew moringa, also known as the vitamin tree. I cooked up dozens of different healthy meals, fermented veggies to make sauerkraut, and made delicious beverages like honey wine and ginger beer. I whipped up delicious desserts and ate the healthiest of my entire life. And I even grew my own toilet paper. This project wasn't just about growing and foraging all of my own food though. It was about empowering others to grow their own food, to take back power from big ag, and ultimately to take back their health and grow their communities. So during this time, I started a few community initiatives. We built 15 gardens for the people, planted over 200 community fruit trees, and sent out over 5,000 free seed packs to help others grow their own organic, healthy food. And I taught dozens of free gardening classes in my gardens to the people in my community. I've been exploring food for close to a decade, and I believe that our globalized, industrialized food system is broken. This was my quest to see if I could step away from big ag and grow and forage every single bite of my food. I'll be honest though, I do have an agenda. I want you to question your food. Where did it come from? How was it grown? How did it get to you? And what was the impact that it had on the earth, other species, and the humans that grow that food? And if you don't like the answers that you find, I want to empower you to change them. The good news though is that you don't have to grow and forage all of your food. The solutions are there in your community. You can grow a little bit of your own food, maybe an herb garden on your windowsill, or some pots of tomatoes and basil on your balcony, or a raised bed in your front yard. And if you don't have any space at all, you can join a community garden. You can source your food locally and purchase from local farmers and gardeners. The farmers market is a great place to start. You can buy whole foods and cook more, rather than packaged processed foods that leave trash behind. And you can work with your community to make healthy foods for people in need, grow a garden for your elderly neighbor, or start a grassroots organization to harvest the fruit trees in your community to distribute it to others. And this doesn't need to be a lonely journey. For most of us, food is at the center of our lives, and we can do this together in our communities. My year is over, but my journey of food has just begun.
Okay, after the two presentations, we'll now go to the workshop section. And this workshop section is facilitated by some of our colleagues from Netherlands and the United Kingdom. We're going to move to them now. So join us as we move along. Also, in the process between 12 and 2, we're going to also, for those of us in the room, we're also going to have another presenter join us from Ghana, from Slovakia, Slovakia, also from outside Africa. Welcome you to join.